don't know how to sit. Hello everyone, it's Ashley of And Cosplay. I was in the middle of taking some cosplay photos and I decided it was a very cute look, so that's why we look a little funky today. So ignore, I dyed my finger blue for reasons accidentally, so ignore that. Also kind of like a different setup going on. I don't know, I've never quite figured out like my setup for just talking to the camera, but I feel like we're getting there. So anyway, if you follow me on like any of my social channels, you will know that I was a cosplay guest for the very first time about a month ago at Fan Expo Chicago. Overall, it was like the most amazing experience ever. I learned so much in the process too. I was so excited when they reached out to me, but I quickly realized that I had like a ton of research to do and a lot to get together. And since I thought it might help others out who might be interested in guesting at cons, I figured I would kind of talk about my experience, how I prepared, what I brought with me, how it just went, and yeah, we'll go ahead and get into it. So to get started, I applied to be a guest there. For Fan Expo, they put up applications for all of their conventions on their sites at various times, but I was kind of stalking it out and waiting for the second they were open. And they just kind of had a little bit of a questionnaire so I could talk about myself, and I gave them my media kit, which I will put up over here. I actually made it just before I applied for it. It's something I made specifically for applying to Fan Expo, but it's something I wish I had a lot longer before that. Now I frequently update this and I love my media kit, it's awesome. Honestly, I didn't really know what would come of it. Like I really didn't know if I was like cosplay guest material. Like I didn't know what they were looking for, but I figured I would shoot my shot and see what happened. And then several weeks later, I got an email with them like properly inviting me, and I was like, oh my god. So right away, the first thing I did, like I think even just minutes after that email, is I started a Google Doc for myself, and it was like really messy at first, but it just was like listing out all sorts of ideas I had, like initial thoughts like, oh, I might need this banner, I might want to do that. It was a big mess, but I started that doc right away, and then I was able to use that and sort of like cull the list down of ideas over the course of the next few weeks. So that was just a really good starting point for me. I also did a lot of looking around on the internet, especially Instagram, because there was a lot of other Fan Expo conventions happening around that time. So I was like, let's check it out, you know, see what the setup is, what the tables look like, maybe see what other cosplayers are bringing and what they're doing. And then I just was like taking all these ideas. I was even like copying, like not copying, but I mean like I was grabbing images and putting them into my Google Doc, like, oh, here's a cool like keychain setup I might want to use, or like, oh, this banner's a cool idea, I'm gonna drop it in there and think about it. So that helped me a lot. But yeah, I started to just kind of narrow down the list and figure out what I wanted. I knew for starters, I really wanted some signage. None of this is like, you're not required to have this, but I really wanted some signs to just identify it as me, and I just really wanted to brand the booth. If you don't know, I'm a full-time graphic designer. I work on marketing teams, so like it was just in my blood to be like, I need a branded, cohesive look. But that was a benefit, is that I could design all my own signs and stuff, so that was really, really cool. But yeah, as far as signage goes, I decided on doing a pull-up banner. They're the really tall ones you can pull up, usually they're like 6 or sometimes 8 feet. They're really nice because they're easy to transport. They're in a little carrying case and you can get them for a pretty good price. I got mine on Vistaprint. So the pull-up banner was really great. I also considered, some people do like regular banners, just vinyl banners that you can hang on the table or behind you. But since I looked at all these photos, I already knew that Fan Expo prints like big signs with everybody's photo and name, and they're all uniform and matching, and they go up behind. So I was like, all right, the back area is taken care of. So it's like, let's do a pull-up banner, add some height to this thing. It was pretty cool. And I did also really want a tablecloth. I didn't know, like the tables could be old or beat up, and I just wanted something to throw on it. So I just got a really cheap, big white tablecloth. I did like a long table size, but I picked the biggest one because I had no idea what the table size was gonna be. I figured I could always like tuck it under if it was smaller. But to brand that a little bit, I actually did a table runner that went like right in the middle, and I was able to put my logo and my colors on it, which was really cool. And it was a lot cheaper than doing a full custom tablecloth. The runner was pretty good. And that was from somewhere overseas. I think it was bestofsigns.com. So yeah, I wanted to make sure I got those like signage major orders done first, because time for production is like all over the place. And all signage aside, I had to also think what I wanted to actually bring to have on display at my booth. And, you know, being a graphic designer and an artist in my regular life, I decided I wanted to do some original art stuff. I thought it'd be cool to have some stickers with original art, pins, keychains, that sort of thing. So I just started listing out stuff I had already made and just different ideas, narrowed it down. I did end up landing on doing an assortment of stickers, and then I had one enamel pin and one like cute little holographic keychain, which was really cool. Water. So I priced those items out on a ton of different sites. Like, don't really just pick one site or vendor for your stuff and just go with it. I wanted to see like what sort of quantities other vendors had, pricing. I really spent a lot of time shopping around. I would like send out for quotes from vendors just to get an idea of what's out there so I could pick the best quality for the best price. And I wasn't going to do prints originally, but I decided I wanted to kind of just dip my feet into everything possible, and I wanted to do some prints and see how that would go. So I decided on a couple images from a few of like my more popular cosplays, and I reached out to the photographers just to ask them what their print policy is, like what they usually do. I was super fortunate that they were just like, they were so excited about it, and they were like, yeah, go ahead, like do this, like we're so happy to be part of it. So that was awesome. And as far as quantities go for all those different things that I was trying to sell, I just like, there was no rhyme or reason to what I ordered. I kind of ordered things based on what like the price breaks were. Like for stickers, most were like, I think I only did like 30 to 40 of each sticker, which is like still quite a bit. But yeah, I did more than I thought I needed, mostly because that's where like price breaks were. Like you order more, the price per piece goes down. So it's like, and I kind of expected to have leftovers too. Like, you know, I of course wanted to have more than I thought I needed. And I always figured like I might do this again in the future, or I could even set up an online shop afterwards. Like I wasn't too worried about having a lot of inventory. And then for my enamel pins, they were, I think they just, the minimum quantity was 50. So I did 50. And then for my keychains, I only did 15 because they were a little pricier and they were very specific. My keychains were of my cat Gabe and his pizza costume that I drew. So it was a very niche item that you really had to know me to get to appreciate that, but people really liked it. And then for prints, I had like no idea what I was doing. I chose 5 different images and I had printed 5 of each of those in the smaller size and then 5 for each of those in the bigger one. So, you know, like each photo had 10. I mean, you know what I'm saying. So each one of those photos had 5 4x6s and then 5 of the bigger ones, like 8x10. So yeah, there was no rhyme or reason to choosing my quantity. It was mostly just based on like what I felt was good and just like price breaks and stuff. I did not run out of anything I brought. I have a lot left over. The prints were all over the place. Like I kind of expect to not sell any. I don't know. It's new to me, but I sold at least one of each of the photos and at each size. So that was pretty good, like first test. So once I had gathered and ordered all the stuff that I wanted at my booth, I wanted a nice way to display them, not just like throwing them on the table. I'm really into booths that are really attractive and organized, where they have signs that are upright, things are like nicely on display. It makes you want to walk over. So that was my thinking behind it. I got a 6-pack of, it's like 8.5 by 11 plastic acrylic sign holders where you can just slide sheets of paper in. I got a 6-pack of those because I figured I could use that for like pricing signs or just like a, oh, be right back sign, or I was able to put some of my prints in there too. So that was nice to just have. I also got some really cheap photo holders. They were like these little wire ones. Like a pack of like 20 was like $5. They were like little wire photo holders that just stand up, but I figured I could use that for smaller prints, also business cards. Just trying to get stuff to be like stood up on the table rather than just all flat. And then to display all my swaggy items, like the stickers and stuff, I got this like cheap bulletin board off of Amazon. It was really basic, but it was just a plain one, and I got a little easel stand for it. And then to make it look a little bit more cohesive with everything else at my booth, I just used acrylic paint and I painted it black with like a little white border, and that was pretty much it. Another thing I got that ended up being a huge hit was this little bowl that I could use as a freebie bowl. I just got it at the Dollar Tree. It was this like cheap little bowl, but I had a little freebie sign on it, and that way I could get rid of some of my old stickers and pins. But they went like really fast. Like I just said, you know, come over, like you can have one of these if you want. I ended up putting my business cards in there at one point because my business cards have like a full photo on one side, and I have like a series of like 6 different ones. So people were like excited to pick out like what photo business card they wanted. And then when we ran out of all of that, we actually just put a bunch of candy in it. So it was fun to have a bowl that like people could come up and grab something. So that was cool. I really encourage that idea. And then apart from that, the last thing I had at my booth were just some props to kind of serve as like a conversation starter, but also just to fill some space. Like I packed a bunch, just like, okay, you know, maybe I'll put this out if there's a big hole on my table. But yeah, I ended up bringing my Emphas helmet. I had an axe, and then I had my Peacemaker helmet and shield just because I was going to wear that cosplay anyway. But it was nice to have that out, especially because people were drawn to the things that were like, oh, cool Peacemaker helmet, and then it was a good conversation starter. So yeah, having props there was really nice, and it's nice to showcase more of your work in person too. I would say that I definitely had a lot more stuff than like half of the cosplay guests there, which is like not a bad thing at all. Like it's just kind of personal preference, I think, if you want to bring a lot and have a full table, or maybe like something a little bit more like scaled back. I definitely had a pretty big presence, but I liked that. I was really happy with my booth. It was super full. My logic was to bring more than I thought I needed because I didn't want the booth to just look like plain, you know, and empty. So I was happy with what I had. So all of the stuff at my booth aside, I did have to buy a lot of different things just for like organizational purposes or for transporting stuff. I was lucky that I was able to get like one of those really big bins with a handle and wheels on it from my fiance from his like old band stuff. So that was cool. I was able to put all my booth stuff in there. That way I could just roll it in to load in, and it was like, that was definitely key to have. I also purchased one of those like multi-layer plastic storage bins with a little handle on the top, and they have like little dividers in each of the layers. That way I could put all my inventory in there. So I had like all my stickers, and they were sorted, and I had the keychains. Like it was good to have that on hand because then everything was sorted, and I could like set that out and like use that to pull from as people were buying stuff, you know. And I also got these like plastic project holders. There were 2 of them, but they fit my prints perfectly, so they weren't getting like folded and bent. And then I also used one for just the other supplies we wanted at the booth, like scissors and tape, the Sharpies, and all that stuff was like nice and organized in there. And some other super important things I purchased beyond that were a square card reader that like just plugs into your phone so I could swipe cards. I just wanted to be able to take like any form of payment so that people were able to buy what they liked. And I also had a locking cash box for people doing like cash payments. We brought that lock box like back and forth with us everywhere we went, like every day of the con, but that's kind of something everybody does. Oh my god, Gabe. Gabe was just in the corner. I wanted him to come out so I could show him the camera, but he left. Anyway, what I was saying about the lockbox, it's something that like everyone has. We were kind of positioned in the middle of Artist Alley and leaving every day. Like everybody gets their lockbox and walks out with it. So like it's something really good to have, and they're not super expensive, but just like hold on to that thing with your life. And finally, I also got some plastic sleeves for prints, and then I had cute little like white organza bags to put different swag in that people bought, so that it was just like a nice presentation when people bought things. So yeah, it sounds like a lot, and it was quite a bit, to be honest. I kind of balled out on this, like, and it's something that you do not need to do. It's totally personal preference. Like I said, some of the other guests had smaller setups, and that's totally fine. But I kind of saw this as like an investment into my future, and it's something that I do want to keep doing, so I didn't mind like going crazy on this first one. As far as working the actual convention goes, I found it was so helpful to have at least one person who was there with me as my companion to just help out and work the booth with me. I was required to do panels and stuff, so there was going to be time spent away from the booth, and my friend Justina did like an amazing job helping me at my booth. Also helped me load in. She kept track of sales because I'm like awful at that. Helped me take breaks so I could get away from the booth or just like sit down and relax, and also just had more fun like with someone else being there. My fiance also came and joined us for day 3 and 4, so that was super helpful. I just like really cannot imagine doing it on my own. It is a lot. And don't get me wrong, these are some pretty tiring days, I'm not gonna lie. I severely underestimated how tired I would be because I knew this was going to be kind of like, it's working. You should think of it as work, but in my head it's like, okay, I've done conventions for years, I got this. But Yeah, no, being on for like almost 9 hours some days, just like with no real break, you're in costume, you're constantly talking and socializing. It is so tiring. Like, I thought I was gonna be ready to like hang out with friends at night and have a good time, but I was just like spent. Like, you're just so socially drained that it's like I just want to like be in quietness. So yeah, working at a convention is very different than being a regular attendee. A ton of fun, but just like a very different experience. That being said though, like I know it sounds scary, like, oh, it's work, you have to be on, but they were very like chill about us leaving the booth. Like we could go get autographs, photo ops, if we wanted to attend a panel, and like everything within reason. So that was really nice. I was able to check out the show floor, made some purchases. I met like one of my favorite voice actors, so that was really cool. Like, is there anything I do differently? Honestly, not really. I felt really well prepared just because I did all that preparation in advance, and I feel like it went really smoothly. One huge change I would make, or rather something I would absolutely bring, is one of those anti-fatigue mats, because oh my god, I know they gave us chairs, but I stood like the whole time just because the table was high and I wanted to like be able to talk to people and seem more inviting, and like wow, my 30-year-old body was suffering. So all in all, it was like an amazing experience. I would absolutely do it again in a heartbeat. And if anyone here watching this has any thoughts of maybe trying to be a cosplay guest, I definitely say go for it. It's worth it to try and put yourself out there, look for those open applications and submit your stuff, because you never know what's gonna happen. And I had no idea it was gonna happen, and it did. So it was so cool. I definitely loved this experience. Anyway, I think that's about all I have. If you're kind of curious about how the day went, I do have my vlog I did while I was there at Fan Expo. It's not the most exciting just because I was in one place the whole time, but I did have a ton of fun. So if you want to check that out, there'll be somewhere here in the description. But yeah, other than that, if anyone has questions about it, I'm super happy to talk about my guest experience. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.